I'd like to call the meeting to order for May 11th, 2021. Invocation, a moment of silence by Mr. Ryder. Please stand.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to take a minute to thank some names that we don't always hear in meetings because they do a fantastic job running our buildings. I want to thank Mrs. Andrews and the team at the Eagle Academy, Ms. Valley and the team at Stowe Early Learning Center, Mrs. Hunter, Mr. Graham, and Mr. Lord at our K-2 schools and their teams, Mr. Sills, Mrs. Flanagan, and Ms. Roman at our 3-5 schools and their teams, Dr. Barrios and his staff at JFK, Erin Clark and her team at the high school. I want to thank each of them for what has been an extremely challenging last 15, 16 months, but also thank them for their assistance to our superintendent and his staff, and to the 9 of us for reopening their buildings, their arms, and their hearts to our children. I just wanted to take a moment to also hope that the last 19 in-person school days after today go smoothly for them. To those students that choose for some extra catch-up time and take advantage of our summer school programs, good luck to you. To our graduating seniors in June, good luck to you as well. And just take a moment to wish all of them well. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America. Thank you, sir. Fire evacuation in case of an emergency. We have an exit out the rear of the entrance, rear of the chambers. Or we could go out my left, your right, and left down the stairway to the rear parking lot. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Ryder?
Here.
Mr. Salazar?
Here.
Mrs. Thurston? Here. Mr. Ungary?
Here.
Mrs. Cushman?
Here.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. LeBlanc?
Here.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Here.
Chairman Cruzel?
Here. Ms. Hall had a prior engagement, couldn't make the meeting tonight. Number 6, board guests. Mr. Drezek, would you like to introduce?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have some very special guests. Our assistant principal from Enfield High School, Mr. Clark, is in attendance, and he actually brought some very special guests, members of the Enfield High School Student Council. So I welcome Eliza and Kara Edwards if you want to come up to the board, and you can go to that table and turn the mic on and say hello. You guys are on.
Or just grab the handhelds and make sure they're on.
Hi, I'm Eliza Alisea, and I'm the secretary for the junior class.
Hi, I'm Kara Edwards, and I'm the class treasurer for the junior class.
Harry Chavez, the junior class vice president, unfortunately was not able to make it today. However, he did help us create this presentation, and today we are going to be presenting about the Enfield High School Mental Health Initiative, ran by the Student Council class officers.
After taking everything into account from this year, we realized that many from our student body were struggling. We wanted to bring light to the issue and let our classmates know that we understood their hardships and that we cared for not only their physical health, but their mental health. We conducted a survey at one of our student council meetings, and we proposed a question asking what are some ways to improve our student climate, and we unanimously agreed that mental health was a big issue during these unprecedented times with COVID and remote learning. So we wanted to proceed on a mental health initiative, and the student council officers recognized the need. The student council officers, we partnered with local Enfield businesses and Enfield Youth Services to create self-care bags for 1,600 students, and some of the items include personalized stylists for our school to issue iPads, which said Eagle Strong, and we also had coupons to local restaurants and some surprise gifts too.
As Kara mentioned in the previous slide, we have 1,600 students at Enfield High School, so it would be a very costly event if we were to purchase multiple items for each individual student. Luckily, we received a lot of support and donations from local businesses, all of which are listed on the slides shown. For example, Elms College donated the drawstring bags, State Farm donated chapstick, and the Enfield Youth Services Bureau donated granola bars, pop sockets, as well as stress balls.
On Wednesday, March 31st, we came together at the Enfield cafeteria, Enfield High School cafeteria, and we assembled the bags for the 1,600 students. And all the student council officers and advisors came to volunteer. We also had other clubs come to volunteer, like the National Honor Society members and Friends of Rachel Club members. We also had administrators come to help, like Mr. Clark, Ms. Diaz, Ms. Capone, Ms. Dolan, and Mr. Southard. And as students, it was a refreshing experience to see our classmates in person, since it's been almost a whole year since we've all been together. And in these photos that were documented by our class historians, we assembled the bags, so we put all of the donations on the tables, and each student would take a bag and go down the line and put all of the donations in the mental health bags. And it was very well organized. We thought it would take about 2 hours to complete, but we ended up completing 1,600 and extra bags in less than an hour.
After assembling the bags, the next step was to distribute them to the student body. This occurred the week of April 5th. Administrators went around during the different lunchways to all of the classrooms and gave every student a bag while marking down their name to ensure that each student received a bag and that no student received 2 bags. Not all of our donors were able to donate 1,600 of a particular item, so some bags did feature special surprise gifts. For example, some bags had blankets from Johnson & Wales University, some had a free ice cream cone to Smith's Ice Cream, and most excitingly, 2 bags had $50 gift cards to Costco, and the winners to the Costco gift cards are featured on this slide as well.
Some of the student quotes that received a bag during the school day. One person said, "I think that it's good that they are watching over the students." And another said, "I was extremely surprised. This dress brain was very nice, and we plan on using the free Blooming Onion coupon soon." And another said, "It was nice to know that the school was caring about the students." So the overall impact was positive towards the students, and I think that the students now realize that the school and student council care for the students' mental health.
The Student Council recognized that Enfield High School has a lot of remote learners that we wanted to include in this initiative because we feel as though they would also benefit from receiving these bags. So we ran a pickup event. Each of the students received an email a couple days prior to the event, as well as their parents and guardians, and we provided them with all of the necessary information, such as the location, date, and time. This event occurred Thursday, April 8th, after school from 12 to 2 p.m. in front of Enfield High School. And the procedure in which this event ran was the remote learners were able to drive their car through the bus loop, where they would meet up with the student council officers. We would then check their student ID and mark down their name in an Excel sheet, once again to verify that each student received a bag. And then we would hand their bag to them and they would drive off. In the picture, you can see all of the student council class officers who volunteered to help that day, as well as some of the teachers who helped. And you can also see a quote to the right from one of the class officers who was there that day. It says, "It was so much fun to be able to see everyone excited for their bags. It was a really good bonding experience for us to work together and help others." And I think that the rest of the student council can most definitely agree with this quote. Similarly to the in-school event where some of the bags had extra prizes, we also handed out extra gift cards to Moe's and Outback Steakhouse, as well as some extra granola bars.
Some quotes from the students who came to get their bags It was a super cool experience driving down and getting a bag with granola bars and gift cards in it. And another said, I thought the bags were an awesome idea to boost students' morale. I was surprised to find quite a few things in my bag, including a free blooming onion. So the free blooming onion was very popular. And you can see that some people on the right went up to the cars to check off the names. And as Eliza said, the event lasted 2 hours, and it was nonstop students coming to get their bags. So overall, I think that we reached a lot of people who are remote students and made sure that they also were a part of this mental health initiative.
After this event, we found that we still had a lot of extra bags, so these bags were distributed to the teachers, substitutes, secretaries, custodians, as well as all of the bus drivers. On this slide, we have 2 quotes from the staff at Enfield High. The first one is from Mr. Beneski, a long-term sub at Enfield High. He stated, "I was thrilled to receive a bag and felt that it was full of really good things for me and as a teacher here at school." The second quote is from Mr. Allegro, a history teacher at Enfield High School. He said, "Speaking on behalf of the students, we really appreciate the thoughtful bags and gifts. Receiving this bag made us realize that through all of this, we're in it together and we have to support one another." It was really surprising as a student to see how grateful the teachers were to receive the bag, and I think it just proves how hard they've been working through this difficult, unprecedented time for their students. And it's nice that we know that we made a positive impact to them through such a small action.
The Student Council class secretaries also sent thank you notes to all of our donators and administrators who came to help during this week. And the letters included photos of the Student Council and people receiving their bags. And also, it showed the impact it had on the school community and also who the donations helped. And it was the students and also the faculty. And it also included what we were able to accomplish. And then the photos were the ones documented by the class historians.
During the week of the bag distribution, we also held a Spirit Week in which each day of the week had a different theme that the students could dress up to. For example, Tuesday was Tie-Dye Day and Wednesday was Crazy Mask Day. This was done in hopes of raising school spirit, and it also was a fun way to lead up to April break. Additionally, we also had daily announcements with mental health tips and tricks.
The PE department also contributed to this health initiative on the PE and Enfield High School Instagram pages. They helped promote our flyers and when to go and pick up their bags for remote learners. And they also promoted some good places to go and exercise and get some fresh air and different places to hike around Enfield.
The overall impact. Junior class Vice President Harry Chavez recognized that many people tend to hold the notion that you are only struggling if that struggle is visible, but this is not the case most of the time. We recognize that everyone has their own set of struggles that they're dealing with beneath the surface, and we want the student body especially to know that the Student Council understands them and that we are here to support them. This initiative helped the students in many ways. It helped open up a lot of conversations around the school about mental health, and it also provided the students with resources to reach out to if they ever feel in need of getting more help. We also would like to thank all of the businesses who donated to us. Without them, we would not have been able to provide the students with as many bags or as many supplies as we were able to. We also want to thank all of the administration and the student volunteers who not only helped us assemble but also distribute the bags. And last but not least, we would like to thank the Student Council historians for taking all the pictures throughout this initiative that we were able to include not only in our thank you letters, but also in this presentation. This project was a community effort that helped bring awareness and aid for many students, and we hope to continue to spread this message in the future. We hope that you found this initiative as impactful as we find it, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Very nicely done.
One more
Questions?
thing.
Mr. Ryder.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. We also have some mental health bags that were extra that we would like to give to the board members. I'm not sure if you want me to like bring them to you or.
Do we want to maybe just leave them do you want them to hand them out, or you want to hand them out? That's fine.
Yeah.
Very much. Can one of you get one? Can one of you get one to Joyce?
Yeah, I can take one for Ms. Hall and drop it off. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, are you ready for questions?
Yes.
Mr. Ryder?
I just wanted to say that this is one of the few positive things that's come out of COVID, I guess, like the virtual awards show we did last year for the seniors for scholarship night. This is something that, was from the bad that was happening in the world, but I hope that the seed of this idea continues because although, we don't want a repeat of COVID, there's always things going on and nobody knows what's going on in a friend's head. And even if it's not COVID, I hope that this is something that can continue. I'm sure it took a lot of work. I've done a lot of fundraisers with the kids' schools over the years, and something that's 1,600 items had to be completely overwhelming, at least on paper. And you guys pulled it off. And thank you to you and your team and your fellow students for this. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. LeBlanc?
I just want to say thank you. Your presentation was amazing, and I don't know why, but I teared up because this has been such a rough year, right? My favorite thing about what you guys did, it was by the students for the students, and you kept the adults, they helped in any way they could, but you guys ran it, and I think that when students are struggling, they feel more of a camaraderie amongst their fellow students. And maybe this opened up some conversations among friends that said, I'm struggling a little bit. And for the student council members to come forward who might have had their own personal struggles. Sometimes when you're struggling, it helps you overcome because you're also helping. I think that this was amazing. And I'm so proud of all the students that got involved and that you made it all inclusive. Because there's too much exclusivity today. Like, you wanted everybody, whether they were remote learning or at that time we were still doing our cohorts, which we hope we never have to do again. You found a way to make it work. So I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank the students. I think the Enfield High administration for letting you guys run this and take off with it. And it was such a great learning experience for you, for everyone going forward as you move on to become seniors and your last year of high school. So again, thank you. And I hope whoever's watching from the student council really understands that it was probably so much more than you guys realize. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Salazar?
You guys did not just the two of you, but obviously everybody else that participated did a bang-up job. Very impressed with everything that you demonstrated towards, the completion of the initiative and even the presentation you gave us here today. I'm definitely impressed. I know that only good things await you next year. I wish you the best, and I hope that you continue to maintain the spirit of cooperation. And I don't think that there's any obstacles that you'll face that you will not be able to overcome. Very proud of you guys. Thank you for doing what you did.
Thank you.
Mr. Ongayo?
Yeah, I think I'd like to ditto some of the things I said here, but I want to say that you recognized and embraced a very, very important issue, and I just want to say thank you for doing that. I know that over the last 16 months or so, we've been hiding behind these masks, but I know that there's a lot of folks, young students as well, who hide behind a mask of a smile. And you can't see what's behind that mask. And we know that there are students who smile on the outside who are hurting on the inside. And your ability to recognize that and to embrace it and to think that how important it is and is to be applauded. as Bill said, and Tina too, we are proud of you, very proud of you, and thank you for that. Also, too, want to recognize the businesses that supported you. The businesses are always solicited for supporting efforts around town, but those who stepped up to support such an important issue, I just like to ask the residents of Enfield to recognize that those businesses that stepped up to support this, that they support those businesses, that it comes back to them, that they sowed good seeds and they'll reap the fruit of that. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Mr. LeBlanc.
All I can say is thank you. This was exactly what was needed during these times. So bravo to you guys for putting others before yourselves, and keep up the great work.
Thank
Thank you.
Well, there's nothing left for me to say other than we as a board, myself, we are very proud of you guys. And also, like Mr. Ungar said, residents of the town, support the businesses that donated to this, because that's the way they get back, and they're struggling just like everyone else. So thank you again for your hard work. Let's give them another round of applause. Could I just ask you one favor? I need that keyboard and mouse.
Oh.
If you could just bring it up to me here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked the mouse.
Oh, they'll figure it out. I don't need it right away, so.
Thank you.
We'll let him figure it out. Thank you very much. What was it, Alt-Tab? There it is, see, I already fixed it. Thank you. All right, so we go to number 7, Superintendent's Report, Mr. Drezek.
Regretting not calling them a year and a half ago and have them give this, because they're doing a heck of a better job than I did. But in keeping with my promise, this is going to be a heck of a lot shorter than the ones you've experienced. So first off, this is all good news. Good news is we're still open. We haven't had to close. Things are going as scheduled. And as you can see, no matter how crazy things have been for us, if it wasn't for students like we saw today, none of us would be getting through this. So that's testament of the work that we're doing in this district to keep it open. So we're extremely grateful for that. A quick reminder that tomorrow, and Kathy knows I never really remember these things, particular holidays, but tomorrow is actually National School Nurses Day. So I know I've said it more than once, especially lately, but let's remind, if everybody has a quick reminder that if you come in contact or send a quick note to your school nurse, thank them for everything that they do. Tomorrow is our first student vaccine clinic over at the Annex. Right now we have about 300 kids that are eligible, that are signed up to get their first dose of vaccine tomorrow at the Annex. So we're hoping for that to go well. I don't know anything about, I know the recent news reports about 12 to 15-year-olds. It's not technically approved yet, so we're not making any plans for student vaccine clinics for that age group at this point in time. We're waiting for more information. I do get a lot of questions about next year, and I know that was kind of referenced earlier. Just so that everybody understands, the way that we're currently operating is that we're working under a governor's executive order. And the executive order mandates that all school districts have to offer a remote-only option for students for this school year if parents make that decision and make that choice. I don't know at this point in time, and it's an ongoing dialogue between us, the Department of Health, the state. Our most recent call on Tuesday morning, there's still no clear direction as to what school is going to look like in the fall. So we have to start making our plans, assuming that the guidelines are going to be in place as is today. We just don't know that. We know restrictions are being lifted. We don't know how that's going to spill into what our operation is going to be come September, but that's going to be an ongoing moving target. What we do know is that the state has put out guidance to superintendents all over throughout the state that the requirement that districts offer remote-only learning for next school year is not anticipated to be standing any longer, because under the executive order, that remote options that were mandated to allow families to choose were classified under a public health crisis. And the state is not aware if that executive order will still be intact come next school year. And the guidance we've received from the State Department of Education is that they don't anticipate that districts will be required to offer the option of remote-only learning for students next year. And I know a lot of people want to plan, so I want to come out today and at least give people a heads up and enough time to plan going into next school year, that at the present time, I do not anticipate remote-only learning for students to be an option next year. The expectation is that we will be back to 5 days a week, 100% in person. There will be really one exception to that, but that's no different than the way we currently operate now. There are some students who have medical situations that require them to not be able to participate in person. And obviously with an ongoing pandemic, that might be elaborated more. There is a process for that currently. That process will continue. That actually goes through our pupil services office in consultation with the district's medical advisor, our nursing supervisor, as well as our pupil service director. So that is still going to continue to be an option, as it is, particularly every year. But right now, our anticipation is that there will not be an option for parents to choose remote only for next school year. And that's the way that we're planning on the operation for the 22 school year. So I just wanted to mention that because I know parents are asking and wanting to make plans, and I figure the sooner I can tell you, but we just received confirmation last week that the expectation is from the state is that we all know that in-person learning is the most beneficial for kids. And we hope that after the last 15 months and the remediation strategies we've put in place, that we're in a much better position to get our kids back in school. And we've proven that by the last several weeks that we're doing it now. So I don't know what that means, if they're still going to have to wear masks or 3 feet. We don't know that yet. And to be quite honest, nobody knows that. But it's not for lack of asking. It just hasn't been determined at this point. And the last bit of good news for the night, and actually I just going back to the vaccination clinic, I have to thank Trinity. They set the whole thing up for us, but they also did it with assistance from our new nursing supervisor, who is Nurse Jess Spera, who some of you met when the nurses came to present to the board a few weeks back. She has just been appointed as our nursing supervisor. I don't want to say replacing, but succeeding Trish Veda, who we're finally going to let retire. And I also have to thank Guy Barassa because he actually had to manually go in and set up all of these student appointments for all the 300 kids. So it was a lot of extra effort on their part to make it happen, but we felt it was important. And last but not least, we're going to end with good news. Some of you may be aware, and I just want to make sure I pull up the right mission statement. A couple of weeks ago, Governor Lamont announced a partnership with the State Department of Education and an organization called Teach Rock. And the mission of Teach Rock is to empower teachers and engage students by using popular music to create interdisciplinary, culturally responsive educational materials for 21st century classrooms. That was a partnership with the Connecticut State Department of Ed, along with Governor Lamont's support. And it was an application process that every district was eligible to apply for. However, they only selected 10. I was made aware last night that Enfield was selected as one of the 10 school districts in the state of Connecticut to participate in Teach Rock. What that means is Teach Rock's founder is a gentleman named Steven Van Zandt. Some of you may know who that is, either through his work with Bruce Springsteen, or as some of you may know from The Sopranos. And if you don't know either of them, I'm a lot older than you. Because I had to show my kids, like, oh, this is Steven Van Zandt. That said, my first meeting, the first group, the 10 superintendents that have the first kickoff meeting is actually Thursday. So I actually get to participate in a meeting with Steven Van Zandt. And if there's a cameo from Bruce Springsteen, you'll all know about it because you'll hear yelling and screaming from 1010 Enfield Street. So this is something we're extremely excited about, as being one of 10 districts chosen in the state to take part of. And I do have to thank Michelle Middleton, because she didn't really have a choice. When the application came out, I sent it to her and said, I can't write this myself, because if I screw it up and don't get a chance to meet Steven Van Zandt, I'm going to blame myself, so you have to do it, no pressure. But she did a phenomenal job helping us write the application, so thank you, Michelle. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Drezig. So we move to audiences. Anyone like to speak? State your name and address for the record, then I'll start the timer.
Will do. Thank you. Let me pull up my notes here. Am I on? I don't need to use a hand dial. Perfect. Amanda Pickett, 33 Guild Street. So first, I want to thank you all for allowing the public and families to engage in this process. There's just a couple things that I'd like to mention publicly and put in this space for reflection and consideration. First, open, transparent communication encourages engagement. We as families not only need to be informed about what's happening, but we should be included in the decision-making, planning, implementation, and evaluation of whatever is decided. So there's a couple of things that I just want to put out there. One is I'd like an update on our district equity plan and the work being done with CABE. So I know we're starting with the board, but I'd love to know how we're going to expand to families, students, and community members. I've been able to participate in the high school parent equity meetings, which are amazing. However, I believe that there's a need for a clear action plan that's comprehensive and that is shaped by students, families, staff, and community. There needs to be system change work. We need curriculum, discipline, hiring and recruitment, staff professional learning, coaching, school climate and culture, and instruction. We have to be centering our decision-making on Enfield's most vulnerable students, our Black and Latino students, our students with disabilities, and our English learners. Second, summer planning. So I know there's a lot of balls juggling in the air. I've received several surveys and flyers, which is helpful. However, there seems to be some disjointed or not well-aligned communication between providers. So there's been abundance of funding coming to the town and the district. So now's the time to be creative, innovative, and partner to provide opportunities that work for students and families. Next, there's an amazing opportunity to participate in a free social emotional screener and assessment. This aligns with the work around Second Step in our elementary schools, advisory period, and the presentation that you saw tonight with our high school students. I'm hopeful that Enfield is considering this participating in this project that addresses student wellness. We all know that students can't succeed academically if their social and emotional needs aren't met. Lastly, and again, I know there's still guidance that's needed, but I think families need to understand what's this comprehensive plan for Enfield moving forward. How are we getting past COVID? How are we going to support our educators and our staff and ensure that our student learning is accelerated? How are we leveraging those partnerships and resources like KITE, Youth and Family Services, Town and Rec, the Family Resource Center, our library, Assuntuck Community College, the business community, and our community providers? Enfield is receiving over $3 million with ESSER II funds, an additional $7 million with the American Rescue Plan. It's a lot of money. Families, students, and communities need to be part of this decision-making, and there needs to be regular communication regarding the plans and implementation. It shouldn't be a secret or only a discussion as updates at Board of Ed meetings. This should be something that we are actively involved in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Anyone else? I declare public communications closed. So we move to board member comments, and we'll start with Mr. Ryder.
Excuse me. Again, I wanted to thank the EHS Student Council for the self-care bags and the presentation filling us in, as we didn't know the scope of that until they came and presented that to us, and I think that is fantastic. I also wanted to thank all the students, including my own, who are going through the SBAC testing. The older one, again, takes it more seriously than the younger one, but I do know it's a lot to go through, especially when you're only in school a couple of days a week and you spend half of one of those 4 days on your computer with your headphones and you're doing your SBAC testing. But I wanted to wish everybody good luck with those, as I know those are continuing throughout the month of May. First reader ceremony coming up May 24th. Again, this year it'll be a drive-through ceremony at the Assuntuck. There are a few updates on the HMS and Eli Whitney pages of EnfieldPTO.com. There's dates coming now that are official for Field Day. There are some end-of-year activities coming up, some end-of-year assemblies. So check the principals update section on EnfieldPTO.com/the name of your school for that. Everything is also put in the calendar sections. Also, speaking of May is the month where all the PTOs reach out to their school communities and look for volunteers for the next school year. A lot of times in May, they'll select the parents that'll help run the PTO for the following school year. If not in May, then they'll do it in June. So please reach out to your local, your PTOs at all levels. That's pre-K through JFK. In the high school, they do more booster clubs specific to specific activities. But you can also reach out to your dean of students to find out something that your child's interested in and how you can help them fundraise and to get on the path that they need to get on to appear at this presentation or that. If you're not sure who to reach out to for a PTO, if you're joining us this September for the first time as a kindergarten parent, again, EnfieldPTO.com. You can just click on the K2 schools. You'll see the email addresses for all the PTOs on there, or just email EnfieldPTO@gmail.com, or you can Facebook message Enfield PTO. And lastly, I wanted to thank all the PTO parents who took the lead last week for Teacher Appreciation Week and did as much as they could with the constraints that we had boxed lunches delivered from Subway, had boxed breakfast delivered, bagels. I saw pictures on all the different PTO pages of letters and drawings and paintings taped to the side of buildings at Prudence Crandall and Henry Barnard and Hazardville and Whitney and Enfield Street and Parkman, Stowe. Had a beautiful banner up welcoming everybody and thanking the teachers for all their hard work, and JFK and the high school as well. So thank you to the PTOs who took the lead on that and helped make Teacher Appreciation Week, Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week special last week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. Ms. Thurston.
Well, since Joyce couldn't make it today, I will announce this. Just a reminder that June 4th is the Toast of Friday, I'm sorry. Friday, June 4th is ERFC's Toast of the Town. It is from 6:30 to 10:30 at the Twin Hills Country Club in Long Meadow. And you can get tickets at www.erfcinc.org. Tickets, huh?
Who's the MC?
I haven't gotten there yet. Hold on. There's going to be different drink tastings. I don't know what I can say, so I'll just go with drink tastings. Hors d'oeuvres, dinner, raffles, silent auction, $40 a person. I've been to them in the past. They're so much fun. This year, they had a fabulous MC lined up. Yes, they could not get him, so they have Mr. Drezik filling in. I love you so much.
You're going to have to explain to Claire why I'm not coming.
So much. No, our own Mr. Drezik will be the MC of the night, and I know he is so looking forward to it.
You forget, Ms. Thurston, I'm going to have the microphone. This event can turn into a roast very quickly.
Yes, but Mr. Drezik, somebody else will be there that is on my side. So I encourage everybody to come out. Unfortunately, you have to be 21 or older, but it all goes to a good cause, the kids of Enfield. So definitely recommend it. That's all before I get myself into more trouble.
Thank you, Ms. Thurston. Ms. LeBlanc.
I thought you were going to say the MC was Steven Van Zandt.
No, he's a musical guest.
Oh.
Bon Jovi.
We're still waiting for Mr. Drezik to do a musical performance at graduation. There's no better time than now.
I think they sure should.
Maybe you could talk to Mr. Van Zandt.
We live it on a prayer.
For those of you that don't know, our superintendent, Dr. Schumann, did a musical performance in front of all the graduates in 2017. We were all taken by surprise. He sang and walked along the crowd.
And he sang. And
So-
he sang.
We're still waiting for Mr. Drezik to do that for us.
You left out the part that he sang and then retired.
Yes. He did do that prior to his retirement. Took us all by surprise. So we're still waiting on Mr. Drezik's performance, but I have a
And no, he's not retiring, so don't put that in his mind.
June 4th.
June 4th. I do have a few questions. Some of the questions we've been getting is the iPad return. Now, the iPads are following students through the school. So like K through 2, you wouldn't, 3 through 5, it would be like when you're transitioning to a new school. Correct, or-
I don't want to speak out of turn. I know that they're finalizing the plans and looking at the updates, and they were trying to get me to do that today, but I got pulled away.
Okay, no,
So
that's
I don't
fine.
want to get in trouble.
No,
But yes,
we've
there
gotten
is
a
a
lot of
plan
questions.
for the iPad return. It'll be coming out shortly.
Yeah. One of the other things, and I'm not necessarily expecting you to answer, but it's going to be interesting to see that if the remote option goes away, like what other kinds of things are going to come from the state as far as like space issues and distancing and the flow, the traffic through the building. So I can imagine if the remote option does go away, it's going to be another bunch of discussions and even maybe some challenges to figure out how we're going to keep the buildings occupied in whatever way they tell us we have to. So I'm sure that you're going to be having discussions all summer for that. I'm going to take a minute to thank the school nurses and congratulate Nurse Farah. She will be missed in her role as a school nurse, but the nurses are on our front line, and I couldn't be more grateful for them. I've been attending, life's gotten a little bit back to normal at the high school. I've been attending the Enfield High track meets, both home and away. It's been really nice to get out and see more students and even staff, and you can see how busy Enfield High is with, baseball and softball. It just makes you, spring is coming, things are back to normal, it helps with a whole new attitude. Lastly, I have to say, when I saw that the student council was coming tonight, I really wasn't sure what they were going to present, and I'm really touched by them and Enfield High as a whole, because I meant when I said it most important to me that it was by the students for the students. And in some of what they were reading, they said, students often suffer silently. And I just think that what happened probably created so much more positivity and so much more discussion amongst the students, because I love when students are like the peer support for each other, because we as adults can try to relate to them, but we've all been there. But it's a different conversation when you're talking to somebody that's your age or in your class. So I'm just really taken back by that, and I've never ceased to amaze on how this district makes us all proud. So with that being said, that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Mr. LeBlanc.
Oh, just give me a second. No, I'm good. I got it up. All right. First, to Amanda's point, not to put the superintendent on the spot, but can you inform about any summer plans being provided by the district to those that may not be aware or?
So we surveyed parents that would see who would have an interest in attending summer school. Actually, I'm kind of glad you brought it up, because I have to put a plug out to all of our teachers who are watching. If you are interested or even considering teaching summer school this year, please respond. Please reach back. We've got about 130 K-2 families who have expressed interest in attending summer school. About 95 intermediate school families who have responded that they were interested in attending, and about 65 kids at JFK. High school is a little bit different because we're doing a mix of that and credit recovery. So that'll look a little bit different. Before we can, lock anything up in stone, we need to get an idea of just how many families are actually interested in attending. We are also going to provide transportation for those who need it. It's going to be a program Monday through Thursday, running about 6 weeks, for about 3.5 hours a day, which for those of you who've been around a while, summer school was only traditionally offered for credit recovery at the high school and for JFK. So this is the first time we've actually expanded it into the elementary grades. We're hoping that we can obviously get as many kids as possible in that are interested in not just for academic catch-up, but also for some enrichment opportunities if given the opportunity to do that. So that's the next phase on that is figuring out where we're going to physically hold it, because there's a lot, as you guys don't know, being in town, there's a lot of physical work being done in buildings throughout the summer, and making sure that that we can fit where these programs are going to necessitate being. And we're in the process of doing that, obviously, with the town's assistance as well. So right now, we are searching. Obviously, because of contractual obligations, we have to expand these opportunities to our own staff members first. We're hoping we have enough of our own staff members that will partake in the summer school program, so we don't have to look for external partners. In the event we're unable to fill the spots that we need, I have engaged with conversations with other agencies to make sure that we could still provide the programming for kids, even if we don't have our own in-house staff to conduct it. But we're not quite at that point yet because we still have some outstanding postings out there that we're trying to recruit our own to take. And some of it is over a 6-week period. You know, this has been a tough 15 months, not just for us in this room, but nothing's been tougher than on our teachers. So I know a lot of teachers who may, and traditionally in years, volunteer for summer school. There are some teachers for the first time in 2 years, they're able to travel and see family members, just like the rest of us. So that's where I don't think it's a lack of wanting to do it. I think it's the first opportunity people have had to maybe live normally for a summer that maybe they don't want to commit to 6 weeks. So we're trying to be as flexible and creative to make sure that we can staff these programs appropriately to make sure that we can get a hold of our kids and give them as much as we can over the summer before we get into September that we still don't know what's going to look like. So I was actually on my list to talk about anyway, so you did me a favor.
Okay. No, I appreciate that and all the detailed planning that's going into that. So I look forward to follow-ups on that. Last week, I had a great conversation with Reverend Greg Gray, and I know there's Scott Ryder. You will have your time with him too, I think, later this summer in July, if I got it correct. So it's a really good time. He has, really good topics that he brings up, and the work that his congregation's doing for the community in the town of Enfield is pretty incredible. So I thank Reverend and his congregation for the support that they give to Enfield. And then to the ETA, words can't express how thankful we are as members of First Readers for the donation of 500 books that they so willingly donated. And last night we just stuffed some surprises for the kids in a drive-thru. So it's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be really fun to see all that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that, again, reminder, that's on the 24th of May. Now for kite updates. Enfield Unplugged is currently in progress from now to May 14th. I've already seen a few pictures up on Facebook of kids doing different activities outside, which is great, from their little kits that they get that Kite provided in partnership with Enfield Public Schools and the Enfield Culture and Arts Commission. 350 of those activity kits were supplied and just gave families an opportunity to get away from the electronics and just enjoy time with each other. So if you want to participate, take a picture of your child doing some kind of activity, that does not involve electronics or anything of the sorts, and put it on Facebook and make sure it's public, and use hashtag Enfield Unplugged to enter your child into a drawing for raffle prizes. And then the last update from Kite is Kite, in partnership with Asnuntuck Community College and the Family Resource Center, is continuing Dive into Diversity Fridays. And all these can be found on Enfield Kite's Facebook page. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Ms. Cushman? No comments? Okay. Mr. Salazar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one. I wasn't actually going to speak this evening, but something prompted me to, reminded me of an event, and that is the words that the students stated. They said that they were very surprised of the impact that their initiative had on the rest of the students. And that made me realize, and here I go with my regular or maybe irregular plug for the mentoring program that our school district offers. And I know Mr. Ryder participates in this program as well. We participate as mentors for a couple of kids here at our local schools, and we've been doing it online since the beginning of the year, and just very recently begun to visit the student on a personal level, now that some of us are allowed to visit the schools. And it was a very emotional moment, actually, to see the student person to person, and I was very surprised by the impact that we can have on a student's education and on a student's behavior, on a student's life, just by being a constant, just by showing up for 1 hour a week. And most of the time it's even less. This is like 30 minutes that the students have the ability to interact with us. We're approaching the end of the year, so it's probably not the right time necessarily for somebody to get involved, but I would ask anybody that is watching, if you are truly interested in making a difference in even just one student's life, consider being a member of the mentor program for the Enfield School District. It is an extremely rewarding experience, surprisingly so, because, I don't bring any kind of special education to the program or any professional training, but just being there for the students on a regular basis makes a very big difference in their life, in their development. And I would encourage anyone that is even remotely considering to really consider it seriously and perhaps think about it over the summer and join the program at the beginning of the year next year. It's an extremely rewarding experience, and it is surprising the impact that it has on the students. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
Well, let me add, maybe I'll provide the phone number of Ms. Howell, who's the mentoring program coordinator. And if there's any interest, anybody, you don't even have to write an email and think about what you want to say. Just speak to somebody live. That phone number is 860-253-4737 or 860-253-6557. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ungar.
Just a couple of things. Bill, Mr. Salazar, thank you for highlighting the mentoring program. I am not involved in it, but I like it, and I like what you said. So thank you for providing this information. I am going to make this phone call and see if I can set up something for, even if it's just one person. It'll make a difference, I hope.
It does, definitely.
Good. Thank you for highlighting that. Just a couple of quick things. I was able to tour with Chairman Grizel and myself, JFK today, and I want to thank Dr. Barrios for leading that tour and taking us around. It gave me a firsthand sense for the logistics and coordination that's being conducted in this building project at JFK. I see that there's something up here, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that. But it's good to see it firsthand and in action about how everybody is accommodating the building program, and that's enough in and of itself. But to do that in a pandemic at the same time, so what a challenge! And that they're able to successfully navigate through that is quite an achievement. So it was really time well spent. And again, thank you, Dr. Barrios, for taking us through. Appreciate that. And lastly, I can't tell you how encouraged I know I am, and we all are, to hear that the goal here is 100% in person starting the next school year. That's exactly what we need and what the students need. And let's get back to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ungar. Well, he stole my thunder on that I did visit with him to JFK. No, I'll do the update later, but I'll proceed backwards from there. I've been busy these last 2 weeks. So today was JFK. Monday I went to Hazardville Memorial and to Eli Whitney. Saw all the kids in some of the classrooms we entered. Spent some time with them, and just like he said at JFK, everybody's tweaking the classrooms, making them available for all the kids, and everybody's happy that the kids are back. I'll continue from last Thursday. I visited Enfield Street School and Parkman, and the same results. Actually, during Enfield Street, there was boxes coming in for lunch for the teachers from the PTO. So, thank you to them for supporting our teachers. That was last Thursday. Last Tuesday, I went to Henry Barnard and to Prudence Crandall and got a great tour. All the elementary schools that I talked to, they tweaked the parent pickups during this pandemic, and they fixed a lot of the kinks that were in the armor, they think, and it's something they want to continue on So, you know, it's not only, you know, we work through problems all the way through, so. So with that, I'll do the JFK update now. So if we want to switch the screen, this is from the building committee last Thursday. So, oh, this is this is site work around the back, the loop road, the new loop road that they're preparing for. That's the view from the auditorium, the new auditorium entrance. That is the auditorium. That is standing on the stage, looking out towards the auditorium. Yes, it is on the stage, looking out towards the auditorium. And that's the opposite. Now you're seeing the stage. Well, we already got lighting in for the stage. The band room is coming along. Cabinetry being put in. The grid for the ceiling tiles are in. The locker room area in the gym. The cafeteria, which used to be a pool, coming along. This is the there's the cardio area next to the cafeteria. These are the walk-in freezers in the kitchen. Oh, this is they took over the gym over April break, so they've already ripped out the floor. They took down some portions of the wall, I heard, that had block windows, the glass block windows embedded behind the brick. At one time, somebody bricked them in. So I'll mention it here like I mentioned it there. Mr. Neville knew all about that. So. And that's the White Wing, and actually we were there today. We saw all the windows are in, but that's a portion, a good majority of the windows are in. And the roof on the White Wing, the new electrical area. And some of the classrooms in the White Wing. So the green area is back in our completed area, the blue wing. Yellow is everything that they have their construction right now, and blue are the temporary spaces. And that's it for that. And then I just have one more. Hold it, bear with me 1 second because I gotta close this. All right, why is this not? Alex, could you come in here for a second? There's one picture I want to pop up. Why is it back to? There it is. I knew I'd get to it sooner or later. Come on. The mouse works up here. Yeah, let me see. Just open that picture for me.
What is this?
Okay, good enough. So this was my first visit to a school on the 30th of April when we planted a tree with the 5th grade class at Eli Whitney. Okay, that little perfect, thank you for blowing it up. That little skinny thing is a tree. The hole we had to put in, this is the second hole we had to put in because there was a conflict with the original hole they wanted to put the tree in. I'll just say that. Saturday, I drove by with my wife to show her the tree. It was still there. Well, by Monday morning, the tree got cut in half. And the investigation is ongoing, but just wanted to show, and I don't have a picture of that, but not yet. No, they're working for a replacement tree, but the tree is skinnier than a finger right now. How somebody could have cut it in half, it's a shame that somebody did that. It was a great presentation by the fifth grade class. You can take it down now. And very unfortunate. And like I said, investigations are ongoing, and whoever did it should be ashamed, really. And one more thing I forgot. Last Friday, I volunteered at the clinic over at the Annex. Very well. A lot of appointments filled up to about 10 o'clock, and then from there, it slowed up. So there's definitely, they're doing walk-ins now. There's plenty of vaccines now. We just heard, I guess it was in the paper, that Connecticut is up to 70% of people have at least a first shot. By July 4th, I want to get Enfield to at least 95% fully vaccinated by 4th of July. There's no reason for it. And doing that, we can get this pandemic behind us for good. And then we can for sure open schools 100%, no problems, no masks, hopefully. And but do your part. Let's make Enfield a shine, and let us get us all vaccinated in this town. It's important, and let's make it happen. And with that, that's all I have to say. So we move to number 10, unfinished business. Approve 6000 series second reading. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Ryder, seconded by Mr. Salazar. Any discussion? Comments? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder?
Approve. 4.
Mr. Salazar?
4.
Mrs. Thurston? Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
4.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Cruzel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 11, new business. Approval of school readiness grant. So let's make a motion first to approve the school readiness grant. Moved by Mr. Ryder, seconded by Mr. LeBlanc. I see we have a visitor. Ms. Morales is on. So would you take it away, please?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So this is the continuation grant for the school readiness funding, which is it's from the Office of Early Childhood, and the slots are held at the Enfield Child Development Center. It's a continuation grant. Kite serves as the School Readiness Council, and Kite voted to continue holding the slots at ECDC, which has held the slots since 1998. So this is just approval to continue with that funding for next fiscal year.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Ryder?
I'm sorry. Hi, Amy. How many slots is it exactly?
It's 28 preschool slots.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Sensing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Salazar?
4.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
4.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes, and I'd like to say hi, Amy. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Chairman Cruzel?
Yes, and I ditto Miss LeBlanc.
A motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Morales, for all you guys at Kite and everybody what you do. Are you still on for the next one as well?
I am,
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. So, number 11B, Family Resource Center Summer Funding Opportunity. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Ryder, seconded by Ms. LeBlanc. And Ms. Morales, take it away.
So we have an exciting opportunity that's being provided to us from the Office of Early Childhood to provide a preschool programming this summer for children who have been affected by the pandemic and have missed out on early childhood experiences as a result of the pandemic. So we are able to apply for funding. It's federal funding that's being offered to all family resource centers across the state to work with our school districts and other community partners to provide free in-person early childhood preschool programming this summer, targeting kids who are going to be entering kindergarten in the fall, who have not had a full preschool experience, providing them with 3 to 5 weeks of summer enrichment programs, educational programs, in-person, school supplies, backpacks, books. So it's a really wonderful opportunity provided by the Office of Early Childhood and the State Department of Ed. They're kind of collaborating on this opportunity, which is being provided to us. The amount of funding we can apply for depends on how many children we would serve and how many classrooms we would offer. We're in the process of surveying families to see if they're interested. We're in the process of working out those logistics. We would need a letter of support from the superintendent. This will be going to the town council as well. So I just wanted to get your approval. We just heard about this opportunity last week, so it's very exciting. And we're looking forward to being able to reach these kids who have really missed out, these youngest kids who have missed out on preschool due to the pandemic.
Thank you. Any other question, Mr. Ryder?
And Amy, this would take place at Stowe as well, at the Early Learning Center?
We hope so. We have to have a meeting about space. I know they're doing some summer programming there as well, but we hope we could use some space at Stowe.
Mr. Salazar.
Did I understand correctly, or maybe I didn't, but if you can please clarify for me, is the funding available to anybody that applies?
It's available to any family resource center who applies.
Okay. All
And
right.
there's 57 across the state.
Okay. Thank you.
And I want to just add, that was one school I forgot that I said that I visited Stowe as well, and just the program there. Every time I go in that building, it's just phenomenal what that building means to this town and to the community. So, roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Salazar?
4.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
4.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Krizel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Are we all set, Ms. Morale? Or are you still here for the next one as well?
I'm all set. Nope, thank you so much.
Thank you for attending, and keep up the great work.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay. So we move to number 11C, approval of adult education PEP grant. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Ryder, seconded by Ms. Thurston. Any discussion on this, or it's just self-explanatory?
This is another continuation grant for our adult ed program.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Salazar?
4.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
4.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Krizel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And 11D, approval of fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Salazar, seconded by Ms. Cushman. Any discussion other than the amount is the same as
Just
this
to
year?
clarify, what you'd be adopting is what the town council appropriated, which is $72,109,522, which represents a 0.58% increase over the current fiscal year's budget. And again, that was when the discussions that we had, we were anticipating coming down to zero, but appreciation to the town council for kind of front-loading the additional state funding, even though they hadn't received it yet, which I know in years past.
If that number changes from the state, then they've already okayed that they would pass it forward to us, so. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder?
4.
Mr. Salazar?
4.
Mrs. Thurston? Yes. Mr. Ungary?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
4.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Chairman Krizel?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone from the superintendent on for the great work they did with the budget this year. Mr. Dresnick.
Now that it's approved, I just want to add, although the positions that we typically put in the budget that you guys would come through approve, because I'm mentioning because it was mentioned here earlier this evening, there are significant grant funding that's coming to the board in the form of two different grants. One is called ESSER 2, which is a continuation of the CARES Act, and the other one they're referring to is ARP, which is the American Rescue Plan. Right now, and this is a continuation of ongoing meetings with the state to get the actual rules for it, one of the things that's very clear in both of these grants is that a minimum of 20% of each of those grant allocations has to go for specific things, including remediation for learning loss because of the result of the pandemic, particularly for our students who come from economically disadvantaged homes, our students of color, our English language learners, school mental health, works around equity. So I know that typically I would come in, and if I would put new positions in the board budget, it would come up on the screen, you would vote on it. I'm only saying this is a warning that you're going to see postings, if you haven't already, through your district-wide email of these positions that the Enfield Public Schools is adding. Those are the positions that we have allocated funding for through these two grant sources, and that only represents, we're only filling the 20% at this point in time because some of the other rules haven't necessarily been established on what the funding can go for. So although there's several postings that have gone out in the last 24 hours, you don't need to approve them because those aren't the positions you're paying for. Those are coming with strict rules on what we have to do from the federal guidelines and ultimately the state guidelines. But just to keep the board abreast as to what our priorities are in those areas, there's a significant, I think the high school students today demonstrated that, when our kids do get back in September, as fortunate we are to have them back now 4 days a week and expanding upon summer work, which is also included in the funding for that, we have to anticipate that our kids are going to need significant level of services when they return. So one of the priorities that we made was that we want a social worker in every school. And now this is something that we've always wanted, but we haven't had the resources to pay for. These grant fundings make that available, including behavioral techs in all of our schools. Now we have those, as you're well aware, at the Eagle Academy, and are extremely successful. We would have loved to expand upon that program. We're able to do that now. So those postings that you may have seen if you're checking your district-wide email, those are all connected toward what the grant funding is requiring us to do. And the reason we're putting it out now is because we're not alone in this area. The competition for filling these positions is extremely difficult right now. So we're doing everything we can. In addition to social worker and social emotional, one of the areas that is an increasing need in the district pre-pandemic was reaching our students who are English language learners and hiring TESOL certified teachers to teach those kids. We got out ahead of that a little bit. We're able to expand upon that program and having certified staff members dealing with our kids who require these services the most. So those are, you'll get a sense of what our priorities were that line up with what the board's priorities have been over these last 14 months to make sure that when we get our kids back, we're ready for them and we're ready to adjust in any way necessary. But I just wanted to make sure that people were watching or that members of the board realized, well, these positions weren't added to the budget. That's because this is where the grant's going to come in place.
Thank you. So we move to number 12, board committee reports. Curriculum, Mr. LeBlanc.
We will be meeting later in May.
Finance, Mr. Ungary.
Unfortunately, due to an unforeseen conflict, the Finance Committee did not meet yesterday. As planned, we will be meeting at the next scheduled meeting on June 14th.
Okay. Policy, Mr. Salazar.
We don't have any other meetings scheduled at this point in time. The policy committee has completed their review of all the policies that were recommended or were due for review. So we don't have another meeting at this time.
Leadership met last Thursday and started the discussion with CABE on the equity piece, and more meetings to come. Joint facilities meeting this Thursday. We're continuing to approve plans for the roof at Eli Whitney and Hazardville. And but those are the two biggest things. JFK met last Thursday and just saw the presentation earlier, and everything's still on schedule. They're working hard, and I want to make a shout out to Chairman Randy Daigle, who's actually there today when we were over at JFK, and he puts in a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of checking out, making sure the work is done correctly, and getting things even even changed or, you know, if it's not to his standards, it gets fixed. So that is all work that he does on his own time, no pay from the town. And I want to make that public shout out to him. And also, I'll bring it up now. They've asked if we want a presentation from the JFK committee wants to come in front of us and do a formal presentation, so we can discuss that and get back to them if there's something we want to. They'll be willing to come in and do that. So, joint security.
Next meeting, June 2nd.
Okay. Joint insurance, nothing planned that I know. Youth mental health and wellness advisory committee, Mr. LeBlanc.
Later in June as well. Scott, did you say the 2nd or the 7th?
Wednesday, June 2nd.
Okay, thank you.
8:30 a.m.
Thank you. So we move to number 13, approval of minutes, regular Board of Ed meeting minutes, April 27th, 2021. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Thurston, seconded by Mr. Ryder. Any discussions? All in favor, show of hands. We have 8 in favor, 0 against. Thank you. Approval of accounts and payroll, we have none. Correspondence and communications,
Nothing.
we have none. Executive session, we have none. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Thurston, seconded by Mr. Ungar. Any discussion? All in favor? 8 in favor, 0 against. Thank you very much, and have a good night.